clock read 4:20 p.m. when the mother took her little daughter's hand and got into the car, heading to a birthday party. Once she left, silence settled over the house. 8-year-old Rio and his 13-year-old sister, Rimash, were studying on the first floor, while the eldest daughter, Rita, was upstairs in her room watching a movie. Not long after their mother's departure, Rio heard his name being called. Curious, he climbed to the second floor to see who wanted him. As soon as he entered the room, a cold hand clamped around his throat. He was dragged to the bathroom, shoved before the filled bathtub, and his head was forced under the water. The unseen grip held him there mercilessly until his small body went still. Downstairs, Rimash remained bent over her math homework. She, too, heard her name being called. Once, twice, yet she ignored it, too focused on solving her problems. When the voice grew more insistent, she finally left her desk and stepped into the hall. Suddenly, she was seized and pulled into the shadows. Her fate mirrored her younger brother's. Her life was brutally taken. Afterward, her limp body was carried back to her room and tossed onto her bed as though she were nothing more than a discarded doll. At 6:30 p.m., the mother returned home. The house was unusually quiet and dark, a silence that instantly felt wrong. Suddenly, a familiar voice called out, "Please, please come upstairs." Her heart pounding, she rushed to the second floor. The darkness there was suffocating, every corner cloaked in shadow. From one of the rooms, the same familiar voice spoke again, this time dripping with hatred. "I hate you!" Before she could react, something lunged from the darkness. A blade flashed. The first stab tore into her hand, the second into her arm. Crying out in pain, the terrified woman stumbled backward. Summoning every ounce of strength, she broke free, bolted down the stairs, and fled the house. She burst into the alley and then out into the street, screaming desperately for help. Moments later, flashing lights painted the night. Police cars and ambulances roared to a stop on 19th Avenue. Meanwhile, across town, a young man named Gia was heading to his room when he turned to his parents and said coldly, "If anyone calls me or looks for me, just tell them I'm not home." His parents exchanged a startled glance. His father frowned. "Why? Is something wrong?" Gia's face twisted with anger. "I'm bored. With everyone." Gia, a 19-year-old university student, still lived with his parents. But that night, his secret caught up with him. By 8 p.m., house number 3 on Pine Street was swarming with officers. The police stormed inside, and within minutes, Gia was placed in handcuffs. By the next morning, the death of 2 innocent children dominated every headline. The gruesome crime did not just shock the people of the capital, it horrified the entire country. On one side of the story was a young man and a teenage girl whose forbidden love had taken a monstrous turn. Their bond, twisted and unthinkable, had blossomed into an unforgivable crime. This shocking conflict made the case the most controversial trial of the year, sparking outrage and countless questions from the public. During his interrogation, Gia, trembling with fear, finally confessed, "Before this happened, I never really took Ria seriously. I thought her words came from fleeting moods, nothing more. But that morning, when we left the house together, she insisted on buying gloves, so that no fingerprints would be left behind after killing the family. As we crossed the street, I silently prayed to God that Rita's plan would fail, that it would never happen. But unlike Gia, Rita showed no remorse. Neither her face nor her words carried even the faintest trace of regret. Now, it was Wednesday, March 10th. Outside the courthouse, crowds of people and swarms of journalists gathered, waiting anxiously for the verdict. The air was heavy with tension, as the entire nation held its breath for the court's decision. Inside the courtroom, Rita's lawyer rose to face the jury. His voice was steady, carefully measured, as he began his defense. My client met Gia at a friend's party a year ago. They fell in love quickly and began planning to marry. But when their families refused their wishes, everything changed. On the day of the incident, Gia secretly entered Rita's home and hid in her room. When her mother left the house, he filled the bathtub with water and ordered Rita to call her brother and sister in, one by one. After the killings, he waited for the parents to return. The lawyer paused, letting his words sink into the heavy silence of the courtroom before continuing. Members of the jury, Rita's medical records prove she suffers from severe mental illness. She should have been undergoing treatment for months, yet her family neglected her condition. They never sought proper psychiatric care. Her illness grew worse, clouding her judgment until she could no longer distinguish right from wrong. She was not in control of her actions. This crime was born not from intent, but from sickness. And yet, the forensic reports dismissed her mental illness entirely. Whispers spread through the courtroom. Some shook their heads in disbelief, others lowered their eyes. The jury retired for deliberation. For 30 long minutes, the room buzzed with restless murmurs. Then, at last, the jurors returned. Everyone fell silent as the verdict was read. Rita is found innocent. Gia is found guilty. The words echoed through the chamber, carrying with them both outrage and relief. Outside, the crowd erupted, some protesting the verdict, others cheering it. The case, already the most controversial of the year, had just ignited an even fiercer storm in the court of public opinion. Suddenly, Gia leapt to his feet in the courtroom, his voice breaking with desperation. "No! No! These are lies! I didn't kill anyone! It was Rita's plan! She called them! She suffocated them!" The room erupted in chaos. Gasps echoed through the chamber as Gia shouted, his face pale with terror. At that very moment, a faint smile curled on Rita's lips. Her parents, sitting nearby, broke into tears, shaking their heads in disbelief, unable to reconcile the daughter they raised with the monster she had become. They were only a 16-year-old girl and a young man, two lovers blinded by obsession, willing to destroy everything in their path. From killing innocent children to attempting to murder parents who stood against their union, nothing was too far. Now 12 years have passed since that bloody day. The case of Rita and Gia has been reopened. This time, with new evidence and deeper investigation, the police finally uncovered the truth. Rita was the true killer. She had no mental illness, only cruelty, carefully hidden behind her silence and cold charm. Gia, who had spent 12 long years in prison, was finally released. Rita, however, managed to escape the country, vanishing into the shadows beyond the law's reach. Nothing remains now of that horrific crime and its aftermath. Not the perpetrators, not their shattered families. Only the house still stands, heavy with memory. Its doors, walls, and bricks seem to breathe with the past, carrying the stench of blood that never truly washed away. It is a house that remembers the chilling seconds when Rimash, 13, and Rio, 8, were suffocated by their own sister in the bathtub. The dreadful minutes when their mother fled, bleeding and screaming, trying to survive. The world has moved on, but the house has not. It lingers as a monument to horror, whispering a truth that justice took 12 years to hear.